Okay, on here I have recorded down all the units of time that I can think of. So we've got seconds, we can measure time in minutes, we can measure time in hours, measure time in days, measure time in weeks, measure time in fortnights, measure time in months, measure time in years, we can measure time in decades, measure time in centuries, and we can even mention the measure time in a millennium. Okay, so when we're converting units of time, what we're basically doing is converting between each one. So if we have a look up here at the top, what we're saying is 60 seconds is equivalent to how many minutes? It's 1, isn't it? So 60 seconds is equivalent to 1 minute. And 1 minute is the same as 60 seconds. Now what I want you to do is I want you to pause the video and have a go at filling in the missing numbers. Okay, pause it now. Are we ready? Let's go. 60 seconds equals
1 minute.
60 minutes equals
1 hour.
1 day equals
24 hours.
very good. 1 week equals
7 days.
2 weeks equals
1 fortnight.
4 weeks equals
1 month.
now this is just a general rule because how many days are there in 4 weeks? Well, if 7 days equals 1 week, 2 weeks is going to be
14 days.
so how could we work out how many days there are in 4 weeks?
2 times 14 or 4 times 7.
Fantastic. Which would give me?
28 days.
Now 28 days is a rough amount because we know that there are several months with 30 days in it and a few months with 31 days in it. But as a general rule, is 4 weeks equals 1 month. And then up to the top, 12 months equals
1 year.
1 year equals
12 months.
look at that, bit of a test for you there. 1 year equals
52 weeks.
that's right, correct. 1 decade equals
10 years.
1 century equals
100 years.
fantastic, and 1 millennium equals
1,000 years.
okay. Hopefully you had a good go at that. These are the basic units of times that you need to know, so make sure that you give it a go now, practicing and remembering those. Okay, so now we're going to actually look at converting time. So the general rule is if we're going from a larger unit to a smaller unit, when we're converting we will multiply. So what I mean by that is hours are a larger unit than minutes, and that's because an hour is a longer period of time than a minute is, and that's how I'm classifying it. So an hour is a larger unit than the minute, which is smaller. So to convert from 5 hours to minutes, what am I going to do? Well, first of all I need to think about how many minutes are in 1 hour. So 1 hour equals 60 minutes. So what would you do to convert from 5 hours into minutes?
Times multiply by 60.
Brilliant. So you would do 5 times 60 equals, now for me the easy way of doing that is 5 times 6 times 10. 5 times 6 is
30.
and 30 times 10 is
300.
so that is 300 minutes. Okay team, remembering the rule that if we are converting from a larger unit to a smaller unit, we're going to multiply, aren't we? Yeah? So, bearing with that in mind, if you go back to the beginning and you think about the original conversion rates, so 60 minutes in 1 hour, 24 hours in 1 day, we're going to use that to help convert these units of time. So we're converting from bigger units to smaller units. So what I'd like you to do is pause this video and have a go at answering these. So hopefully you've had a really good go at doing this, and we're going to work through it together now. So, first of all, what is the basic conversion between these different units? So, between hours and minutes, how many minutes in an hour?
60 minutes.
Brilliant. Now remember, if we're going from a larger unit to a smaller unit, we multiply. So there's 6 lots of 60. So 6 times 60 is...
360.
Brilliant, 360 minutes. Now again, if we're looking at this one, what's the basic conversion? Seconds into minutes is...
60 seconds.
Brilliant. Okay, there's 4 lots, so that's going to be 4...
Times by 60.
So 4 times 6 is...
24.
Times by 10.
240.
Brilliant. 3 days into hours, basic conversion. How many hours in days?
24.
Fantastic. So 3 lots of 24. Now for me, I would do 20 times 3 and 4 times 3. This is if I was doing it mentally and not written. So 3 times 20 is...
60.
And then 3 times 4 is...
12.
Let's add those together. And it's 72. Okay. Weeks and days, basic conversion. How many days in a week?
7.
How many lots of weeks?
5.
So what am I going to do?
7 multiplied by 5.
Which is...
35.
Fantastic, well done. 2 years and months. So what am I doing, George?
4 months equals 1 year.
How many months?
4.
No, not 4. There's 12 months in a year. So 1 year equals 12 months. So that's our basic. How many years are there?
2.
So what do I do?
12 multiplied by 2,
Yeah,
which is 24.
well done. And then finally up here, what's our basic conversion between the units? How many weeks in a year?
12.
No, that's months. You're getting confused. How many weeks in a year? Can you remember?
52.
That's it, well done. And there's 10 of them.
520.
Easy peasy. Okay, well done. Right, so now we're going to have a look at converting from the smaller value unit to the larger value unit. And we're going to do the inverse of the last operation, which is going to be divide. Okay, and here's an example, or trying to explain why. So seconds is smaller than minutes, isn't it? So if we're timing something, seconds is a smaller unit than a minute would be. So if we're converting from 60 seconds to a minute, then we're going to have to divide. But what are we dividing by?
60.
Brilliant. And we're dividing by 60 because the basic unit of measurement is 1 minute equals 60 seconds. So we're going to divide by 60. So 60 divided by 60 equals
1.
Brilliant. If we're looking at 180 seconds, how many minutes is that?
3.
And how do you know it's 3?
Because 60 multiplied by 3 equals 180.
Brilliant. So if we divide 180 by 60, there's 3 lots of 60, which means for every 60 seconds is 1 minute. So 60, 1 minute. 120, 2 minutes. 180, 3 minutes. So let's have a look at this one, 600 seconds. How many minutes would that be?
10.
Brilliant. Okay, and hopefully you spot that straight away, because actually with an extra 0 on the end, it's 10 times bigger, isn't it? So it is 10. And now it's time for our final challenge before I ask you to go and start your LBQ. So on the board, I've set various conversions I want you to do, but bear in mind these are all going from a smaller value unit to a larger value unit. So we're going from days to years, from years to centuries. So for all of these, we're going to divide. Okay, so what I want you to do is I would like you to pause your video and I'd like you to have a go at trying to work them out. So let's work through. And 120 seconds equals how many minutes?
2.
Brilliant. How do you know?
Because 60 seconds equals 1 minute and 60 times by 2 is 120.
Brilliant. So 2 lots of 60 is 120. 240 minutes equals how many hours? Well, in that case, we've got to think about our basic conversion rate, of 1 hour equals?
60 minutes.
Brilliant. And how many lots of 60 are in 240?
4.
Brilliant, well done. In this case, we've got hours and days, so our basic conversion is how many hours in a day?
24.
Brilliant. So we're going to divide by
3.
yeah, 3 lots of 24. Perfect, well done. So 3 lots of 24. And if we have a look at this one, it's days and weeks. So how many days in a week?
7.
Fantastic. So what are we dividing by?
7.
And how many 7s in 35?
5.
Brilliant, well done. Let's move up here. And we've got 104 weeks. How many weeks in a year?
52.
So what does that mean then?
That there's it's 2 years. 104 weeks is 2 years.
Good boy, yeah. How do you know?
Because 52 multiplied by 2 is 104.
Brilliant, well done. And if we have a look here, we've got 10,000 years equals how many centuries? Well, how many years in a century?
100.
Fantastic. So what are we going to do here?
Divide by 100.
Brilliant. If we divide by 100, okay, if the decimal place is here, if we divide by 100, how many jumps does that number make?
1. No, 2.
2. Brilliant. Okay, so it would be 1, 2. So it would be 100. And here, 10,000 years equals how many millenniums?
110.
Yeah, brilliant. Because how many years in a millennium?
1,000.
So we're dividing by 1,000. Now 1,000 is the same as 10 times 10 times 10. That's 3 jumps, isn't it? So our decimal place here. So the number would jump, and it would jump 3 times to the right, and it would become 1, 2, 3, and it is 10. Okay, well done everybody. Now start your LBQ that I emailed out this morning and enjoy your work.